Hello, this is Schedulytics. Welcome to today's session. This is the part 5 of the series, The Art of Interpreting or Presenting, Analyze or Research Data, where we'll be looking at graphs and what makes a good graph. Graphs are especially useful when we are trying to demonstrate trends in a data set that will not be obvious or apparent when we present them in a form of tables. However, presenting numerical data in the form of graphs sometimes may lose the details on its precise values or precision. Hence, the onus lies on the author or the researcher to sincerely ask him or herself whether the data that is supposed to be presented emphasizes on precision or on a particular trend or pattern. And when these answers or this answer is honestly provided, it will inform the decision as to whether to present the data set in a graphical form or in a table. Now, it is also important to note that our graphs should be self-explanatory with all information provided clearly on it. And what really makes a graph self-explanatory? 3 things make a graph self-explanatory. First is the title, second is the figure legend, and thirdly is the footnotes that are along the figure. Now, it is also important that our title should be concise and clear to the point. We should also define our symbols and lines that are used as legends clearly. Now, what are some of the general rules or guidelines that would help make our graphs better presented? First, we need to establish the facts on the type of data set we are working on. Is it a categorical data or is it a continuous data set? Now, having this sorted out, bar charts, either in the horizontal or column bars, are used to display categorical data, whereas histograms or line graphs are best used in displaying continuous data sets. It is also important that we avoid the use of 3D graphs and charts. Why? Even though 3-dimensional graphs are impressive when we use them in slideshow because they easily catch attention of the audience, when it comes to scientific write-ups or medical writing, they sometimes are not effective because it becomes difficult to read the exact value on the y-axis, as we can see in the figure below. It is difficult to trace to see the exact y value that corresponds to each of the heights of the bars. Now, it is also important to note that unlike the tables where we present the title on top of the table, for graphs, it is appropriate that we present the title below the figure. Now, line graphs, as we establish, are used for continuous data sets. And so it is important that we use line graphs in representing continuous data sets. So in this case, line graphs are most appropriate in tracking changing values between variables over a period of time, or when the changing value itself are continuous data. Now, in presenting our line chart, we need 2 axes, obviously the x-axis and then the y-axis. The x-axis is the independent variable which we will present over there. An example of an independent variable is time. Why? Because time does not depend on anything to change it. The dependent variable example is glycated hemoglobin. Why can we say glycated hemoglobin is a dependent variable? We can say so because over time, glycated hemoglobin of an individual, for example, can change. Hence, glycated hemoglobin is dependent on time. So as we are seeing in the graph below, here we have a glycated hemoglobin of an individual being plotted over a period of time in months. And so when we have such values where there are changes or fluctuations in the continuous variable, it is much appropriate to present it in a line graph instead of presenting it as a bar chart. Now, pie charts are also one that is often used by a lot of statisticians. However, pie charts should not be used often, as any data in pie charts is better presented in bar charts or simple text description. So it's a common error that a lot of people make, especially when it comes to presenting gender distribution of a study. So some may want to present it in a pie chart, but it is a better way to simply state it in percentage form in a text instead of designing a pie chart for it. Thank you very much for watching. We've been able to look at what makes a graph more appropriate or presentable, and we have seen some specific guidelines that we need to take, especially in our choices of graph, whether we should use a line graph, histogram, or we should use a bar chart, and why this and many more of what we have learned. And we thank you for being part of this journey and being patient to watch to the end of this 5th part. We encourage you to subscribe to the channel. We encourage you to like the video if you find it very useful. We encourage you to share with all your friends. Until we meet again, it's a bye.